Morning, I'm just putting the final finishing touches to my concept car. I think you'll agree it's going to be pretty special. 400 kilowatt hour battery, 8 motors, 2 on each wheel, about 1,000 miles worth of range with a charge time of 30 seconds, and it's going to be fully autonomous. So much so you can wear a virtual reality headset and pretend you're driving on the road you're on. I think you'll agree I've done a pretty good job. But what's the point? It's never going to be made, much like the vast majority of concept cars that have ever been designed. Nobody will make them. And that annoys me. It annoys me because there's so much press interest in concept cars that we seem to be bombarded with them constantly. And we all seem to be expecting that just round the corner is the next greatest thing. And then what arrives is a pretty standard car. Today I want to talk about one of those concept cars that actually has become a reality. It's the Kia Niro. Now that has been through that kind of silly concept phase where I didn't really talk about it because it was just full of wishes and things that would never happen. But then we saw at the beginning of the year in Las Vegas at the CES, a concept design around it that actually bore some resemblance to what could be a production model. And then last week, we saw some photographs of a production model, and we're told the Paris Motor Show at the end of this year is going to be fully released. Now, there are still a few little tweaks with it, and they are still promising a few things that maybe won't be delivered, but ultimately, what we're looking at is a full production car. And that's why I want to talk about it today, because for me, it's very nice seeing all these luxury cars. And when I'm talking luxury cars, you know, the Jaguar I-Pace for me is a luxury car. The Teslas, even the Model 3 for me is a luxury car. It's an expensive car by the time it gets here and has all the functions on it that I would want. This falls into that category that I see people driving at the school gate every day. Your Kias, your Hyundais, those SUV, compact SUVs, compact SUV crossovers, whatever you want to call them. There's a million different names for them. You know the ones that I mean, that you see everywhere because people can afford to buy them. Well, this falls into that category, which is why I'm really interested in it. This is going to be an electric vehicle for the masses. It's another Zoe or another Leaf. It's one that we can all aspire to. But they've pushed things on a bit. And I think when I tell you what's looking like is going to be in it, because they have announced some of the specification of it, and you think about their normal pricing structure, I think it falls squarely in that price range that most of us could look at. And if we can't look at it now, we can definitely be looking at it as a second-hand car in a couple of years' time. So what have they announced and what does it look like? Well, it's a compact SUV crossover, they're calling it. I don't know how that's any different from a compact SUV. It's a name, who knows? They seem to make them up as they go along, but that's what they're calling it. It's going to come in 2 variants. It's going to have a larger battery and a smaller battery. Now, this might sound quite familiar to you because a lot of what it's got in it, it's sharing with the Kona. And we all know about the Kona now, that's been released. They're obviously 2 companies that work very closely together, and they're looking to design a powertrain that can pretty much be lifted and dropped into various chassis and just work. So this is another example of how this kind of cooperation between manufacturers really works and really comes together and saves a load of money and means that us as consumers can afford to buy these cars. So what's it got? It's going to come with a 150 kilowatt motor. It's going to, the larger battery is going to be a 64 kilowatt hour battery. Now they're talking a ranges up to 300 miles, which, let's be honest, it's not going to do that. Probably closer to just over 200 miles, which is still a really, really good range. The smaller battery, 39 kilowatt hour battery, is going to be good for about 150 miles. So again, 40 kilowatt hour batteries, let's be honest, you're not far off, but it's a big car, so it might be a little bit less than that. But that's the general ballpark we're going to be in. The styling of it is very similar to the other variants of the Niro, but you're going to get a blanked out grille that obviously encompasses a charging part of it. The The headlights are slightly different. They're going to have like an arrowhead running light kind of configuration. Looks quite nice. It looks like there's sort of some side skirts on it, maybe a little bit lower running. Just it's all to do with making it a little bit more efficient through the air. So some minor tweaks, but enough so that you know that it is an electric car. It's something a bit different, and hopefully that will help with that battery range a little bit as well. So no great difference between it and its ICE equivalent. And what about inside? Well, it looks very modern from the way it's been described. But one of the things that really stood out for me, they've described as a beyond autonomous driving technology with a unique human interface. Yeah, that just sounds like a load of words thrown together for me. I would imagine it's similar to ProPilot. It probably can change speed for you, stay in a lane, steer to an extent. Probably not an autonomous driving system, but a very good driver's aid, I would imagine. That's how that's been described. But it's also got what they're calling an advanced pedestrian warning system. We've obviously heard an awful lot recently about electric vehicles emitting noise and how in various places it's going to become the law that they're going to have to do it. Well, this one, it sounds like it works as it detects movement around it. So if it sees a pedestrian or it sees a cyclist, it will emit a noise to warn them that it's coming. So that, if that works, I quite like the sound of that, because I, like a lot of people, like to have my EV very, very quiet. And in fact, I turn the sound off. I'm very conscious of it, driving around car parks especially. I drive a bit slower, and I'm always expecting people to walk in front of me because they do. So to have a noise that will emit when it's needed, I think that's quite a good idea. And then hopefully we won't have to have it on all the time. We'll see, but that's what they're saying. So that sounds like quite a nice little feature. So the details are a little sparse at the moment, but in October at the Paris Motor Show, they are going to release it fully. And it looks like it will go on sale, certainly in the UK, early part of 2019. In Korea, it looks like it's probably going to go on sale the latter part of 2018. So they really are very close now to releasing that car, which is great news. As far as Kia is concerned, with their electric vehicles going forward, they have said that they're going to have, I think it's something like 31 electrified vehicles by 2020. And although this seems to be a little bespoke, what they actually want to do is develop 3 powertrains. So how they look, I don't know, but one of those powertrains would be fully electric. And then from those 3 powertrains, they are going to drop them into their core models. So they're not going to make bespoke electric vehicles. They're going to continue to make their vehicles as they see are the best sellers. But they will then take one of those 3 variants and drop it in. And then you as a consumer can go and choose which car you want with which drivetrain in it, which I think is a really sensible way of doing things. That way we don't get any bizarre, obscure vehicles. The cost is kept at a reasonable level, as we expect from these manufacturers. And that sharing continues with the likes of their sister company, Hyundai. So that, for me, is again a really positive way of moving forward, a really cost-effective way of making cars that ultimately benefits us as a consumer. And that's it really, as far as an update goes. I wanted to share it with you because, as I said before, I get excited about cars that realistically I can afford. Now, whether it's I can afford it when it's new or I can afford it when it's secondhand, actually that's a car that I can sensibly think about buying. It's not a £150,000 Model X. I'm never going to be able to afford one of those. It's not to say it hasn't got its place, and I love the fact that they're driving things forward. But this, for me, is the area that excites me, simply because things are moving forward really quickly now with this one and the Kona. We've seen the Ioniq, and obviously the cars that we've already got, the Leaf, the Zoe, all those sort of cars, the i3. There's so much choice now, and it's just getting better and better. So hopefully this is just another one of those models with the range that it's going to have and a price tag that's going to get more people interested. And that's it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, remember to like and share. And if you're not doing so already, subscribe to the channel. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at EV Opinion. I'll see you again very soon. Until then, take care.